F1. There was an F1 race on the weekend. Lewis Hamilton wins again. Water is wet. He's the first person to get 100 poles. So whole 100 pole positions, not the other poles.
So that's first on the grid.
Yes. Qualified first for the race.
Yeah.
I think Schumacher was the next closest with 68, and then all the other blokes, there's a few in 50s and then down on it. There's, as a comparison, there's some F1 teams, of course, that don't have any in like the history of the sport close to that amount of first positions. So very impressive. He starts one. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the race happened. Monks, what were your thoughts on the race?
I caught part bits of it. For me, it was pretty stock standard race. Wasn't too much.
Yeah,
involved.
It was. Well, they were Spain, weren't they?
In Spain.
Yeah, it was not a track that lends itself very well to overtakes.
No, there were some pit strategies, and that played.
So pit strategy was probably the main thing. So to start it off, Max has a really good start and takes him over. So Max from 2 and is first to start the race after a couple of corners. They hold that position for quite a while. They do their first pit stops. They all go in at the same time. They all come out in order. Then there was talk about maybe this is a one-stop race, depending on how far you'd go. I think it ended up everyone did 2 stops in the race, just purely because they were using up the mediums quicker than they thought they'd be. But Mercedes, they were lucky. They had Bottas in 3 and Hamilton was in 2. Bottas kind of built another big enough gap between him and 4. Like there was a big enough gap from 4, and you had Bottas there that they worked it out and said we could beat Hamilton, get him out behind Bottas. We can get Bottas to move out of the way because he's our teammate. He'll be ahead of 4, and then we can put him on new rubber, and he can hunt down Max. And Max would have to do 40 plus laps on his mediums.
Yeah, so I think to that as well. So as soon as Bottas pitted, Red Bull was essentially, look, we're not going to win the race. Let's try and get the fastest lap. So that's why. So I think Verstappen was going to be on that one pit stop strategy.
Yeah.
But then as soon as Bottas came in, they're like, all right, let's get Verstappen on fresh tyres. He's still going to come second anyway.
Yeah. So Hamilton by that point had taken him over. So Hamilton had gone in. We're talking about lap 30 or 40. He'd made his second pit stop of a 66 lap race. They gave him 20 plus laps to then catch Max, and he did it, I think, within 10 to 15. So he had laps left over where he's just caught up to Max. He's taken him over. Max had no tyres left. So Max, of course, at that point was just like, well, we've got heaps of room between us and Bottas. Let's pit and try to get the fastest lap.
Yeah, which he did.
Did Max get the fastest lap?
Yep.
I thought he had his...
He got a fast lap at 118.149.
I thought he had done for track limits and then someone else got it.
No, that was the week before.
That was the week before.
Portugal,
okay.
Sorry.
So that was Portugal. Yeah. So he did get the fastest lap in this one. Bottas was the other option. Bottas, they'd pitted it as well to try and get him the fastest lap, which then let Max come out and get the fastest. His attempt at it. So Max did get that in the end. So it was really, the race ended up being more about pit strategy than about the overtakes on the course, because it was very hard to overtake, even with the DRS, and the straight probably wasn't. The DRS zone in the straight didn't give them enough. They could get enough, close enough, but not enough in a position to take over unless they were right on their back, like rear wheels coming out of the last corner, which is very hard to do, of course, to stick that close to an F1 car.
Yeah.
There was some movement in the middle of the field. It was actually a really good race from our boy Danny Rick. He started 7th, finished 6th.
Yep.
In both qualified and finished ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, which was a complete change of fortunes from last week's race. So starting
very promising for him.
Yeah, starting to get that car going, because we need a third competitor essentially to the other 2 teams, and whether that's going to be McLaren or Ferrari.
Been okay.
Yeah, well, Leclerc's been good.
He has.
He finished 4th, I think, in this race from memory. So
yes.
Yeah. So he and the Ferrari's been good. I don't think Sainz has been
similar sort of filling out process as Ricciardo with McLaren. Yeah.
But what was really interesting was Hamilton wins his 6th Spanish Grand Prix. This is his 5th in a row There's only one other bloke that's won 5 Grand Prix in a row, and that's Ayrton Senna, the legendary Senna. So, and it's quite interesting. I saw a whole bunch of stuff in the meeting. It's like you're watching an absolute goat going around at the moment. Like, I think a chat at some point we need to do is have a talk about GOAT status in sports, and like who's got GOAT status. But Lewis Hamilton as a competitor, like you look at his numbers, it's Jerry Rice kind of like his numbers they're just so far ahead of everyone else that's ever done this. So it's quite amazing, and he just keeps adding to it. And if he wins his 8th title this year, he will take the lead as the most world championship winners. But then you look at like how many poles he's got compared to Michael Schumacher, who he's now equal with. It's
ridiculous.
It's not double, but it's 40% more. Like it's a lot. It's a lot.
So hard to tell, but I mean, we always chat about how any driver can get into a Mercedes car and race well. How would Hamilton go if he was to change teams? If he was to go to, I mean, in a Red Bull, it'd be very competitive. If he was to go to McLaren,
so I'd say one thing, like
McLaren.
If another driver came in a Mercedes, they'd do well. Would they win? So I think that
George Russell gave it a good run.
Yeah, he didn't win though.
Driver.
He didn't win though. So that's my point. Like
pit strategies though.
I'd say, but there's a whole winner mentality to.
There is.
You look at sports across the world and winner mentality to get that GOAT status I just mentioned before. You need that mentality, and you can tell Lewis Hamilton.
He's definitely got that mentality.
Yeah, would he be as good as in another car?
Because it's such a technical sport as well, though. Like, there's such a huge gap between Mercedes and Red Bull, and Red Bull and McLaren.
Well, those two teams are ahead of the others, and then you've got Ferrari hopefully joining them, McLaren on their tail. They're the top 4, and then you start talking about the other teams, and you work your way down the list. If you took him and then put him in Mazepin's car, probably he's going to struggle. It wouldn't surprise me if he takes Mazepin's car, who's finishing last, and finishes in top 10. Like,
True. I suppose it's all relative.
Yeah, you look at what Alonso's doing. He's taking an Alpine. Is he Alpine? Yep. Yeah, Alpine car, which a Renault car that was doing okay. Like Danny Rick was doing all right in that. Ocon was doing okay in it, but now he's taken that up and it's in a top 10 position. So, a guy that's got talent. So
he did come 17th at Spain.
But not a great turnaround for him. But
I do get what you mean.
It goes hand in hand, definitely. But I think Hamilton's probably a different beast. It would not surprise me if he went to Ferrari or something, and then he'd still be dominant. Which is because the comparison's probably Seb Vettel. 4 championships with Red Bull, went to Ferrari. Ferrari were in a shit show, so they couldn't put the back office, let's call it back office, together to put him in a position where they could actually then go and win races. Yeah, true. So he still was competitive. Like he was challenging Hamilton in a lot of races in the Ferrari, not the last couple of seasons, but when he was there early. So he was doing some stuff there, and of course I think he just fell out of love with it. Sick of Ferrari, so that's why he left them and gone to Aston Martin. Yes. Yeah. So it goes both ways. You talk Tom Brady. If you took Tom Brady and put him in the Jets. Do they win the Super Bowl? Maybe not, but they're probably a playoff team. Let's put it that way.
I suppose. That's it. I suppose it's all relative. Yeah.
So the next race is actually probably the biggest race on the F1 calendar, 23rd of May, which is 2 weeks away, is in Monaco. A race that Danny Rick really likes, so I'm actually looking forward to that. I love that circuit. That's an excellent racing circuit in Monaco for the 1%ers to go out and watch.
Well, I mean, it is, but then you usually get whoever makes pole wins that race, being street circuit as it is.
Yeah, unless there's something,
it's hard.
Unless someone puts it in the wall. It's not a great overtaking position.
No.
Not position, course. It's probably the better way to speak it. There is some points, especially coming out of the tunnel down into the hairpin there. That's usually the only spot. But it's one of those street circuits where probably crashes and pit strategy play a very important part in it. But it's a classic race. Danny Rick, of course, winning there in the past. I'd really look forward to Monaco because it's a sexy looking course.